Hey guys, Buffett Gaming back today, bringing out a video, and today we're going to be covering the Season 7 wish list for Modern Warfare Season 7. So here we are in the middle of Season 6, coming to a close here in the next couple of weeks, and the official word has not been given yet as to whether or not we're going to have a Season 7, but through a lot of leaks, it seems that there's definitely going to be a Season 7, or at least some sort of continued support, which we already know is confirmed. Just whether or not that's going to take up the form of a season or not has really yet to be determined or officially announced by Activision and Infinity Ward. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to call it Season 7. We know there's going to be more coming, just whether or not it's a designated official season or not. So let's get into what the wish list is and what I want to see coming, whether it's Season 7 or even beyond with this extended content. As we know, Warzone itself, at least, is going to be supported well into the future here, alongside Cold War. Whether or not Activision, or excuse me, Treyarch or Infinity Ward is going to be supporting Warzone going forward as far as weapon drops and things like that, we're going to have to wait and see. I think that should be announced here the next week or so from what we've heard. But let's jump into it here. And first off, we're going to cover some weapons that I would like to see added to Season 7 and possibly beyond. So if you guys remember way back in Season 3, there was leaks for Season 4 as far as weapons that were going to be coming. And there was a total of 5 weapons that were leaked at that time. One of them we had known about for a while, being the APC-9, which was eventually added at the end of Season 5, I believe it was, if memory serves correct. So in Season 3, we had the following weapons leaked. We had the Vector, or the Fennec as it's known. We had the Galil Ace, or the CR56 AMAX as it's known in game. We had the Barrett, or the Rytec. We had the APC-9, or the ISO. And then the other weapon was the G28. Now, all of those weapons have come to the game at this point in time here in the middle of Season 6, minus the G28, which leads me to believe that the G28, since it's been in the game files for a while now, and it was in a more completed state from what I've heard than something like the Rytec or the Barrett was at the time it was discovered, and that came sooner. It seems that the G28 is one of the last weapons that has been discovered in the game files that is yet to come to the game. So, if we're going to go ahead and guess, I would say that the G28 is the next weapon that can possibly be almost yet confirmed to be coming to the game here in Season 7. So if we get the G28, the interesting thing with this weapon, I think this is going to be a possible meta changer here as well, because here we are in Season 6, and right now we've had a lot of weapon nerfs and buffs, and the Bruin as well as the Grau have been nerfed pretty heavily at this point. We've seen the M4 get nerfed, the MP5, but right now the meta seems to be running the Kilo 1-for-1 of the HK433 with the standard meta attachments being the VLK sight, the mono suppressor, the commando foregrip, longest barrel, and the 60-round magazine. So that seems to be the standard meta right now that everyone seems to be running the game. Again, taken away from a lot of the variety. So let's suppose the G28 will be added here in Season 7. Now we can make a bunch of different weapons out of this. First off, we can make the HK416. So first off, let me backtrack. If you're not familiar with the G28, it's a designated marksman rifle, more so of an improved version of the HK417, or you can call it a different variant, essentially, of the 417. So it's going to be a DMR or a battle rifle firing 7.62 by 51 millimeter rounds, or a 7.62 NATO rounds as it's designated. So out of this weapon, if we get the right conversion, so we're going to assume we're going to get different barrel length, we're going to get fully automatic capabilities, whether it's a perk or a barrel lock, which will lock you into fully auto, or even we're going to need magazine conversions from the 7.62 by 51 to the 5.56 by 45 NATO rounds. So assuming we have all of those conversions for that weapon, we can make the HK416, the M27 IAR, the infantry automatic rifle, which is again a replacement for the M249 SAW, and we could also make the HK417 assaulter or different variants of that out of the G28. So if we look at the G28 with those conversions, now if we convert it to a HK416C, right? This is a more compact variant of the HK416. This could be a possible meta changer for the CQC to the medium range engagements, as the HK416 was initially designed to replace or fill that role of the Mark 18 CQB-R, which is that shorter barrel M4 salt mod variant. So basically with the HK416C, we would have a 9-inch barrel, give or take, and that could fill a more CQC role, which the weapon was designed for. Now, if we get a barrel length somewhere between 10.5 to 20 inches, we're going to get the 416D. So let's assume it's a 20-inch barrel, we get a 416D. Now, this is the full-length barrel variant of this, which, again, as I'm saying, meta changer would jump up and compete with the Kilo, the Graus, and the Bruin, some of those other 5.56 weapons that are very fast rate of fire and low recoil. The HK416D A5 variant, if we have the 5.56 by 45 NATO rounds, a full auto capability, and again that that barrel length would need to be around 20 inches. We would get a definite meta change, not only with the long range, but if we get the short barrel variant for the short range as well. So that would be a meta changer, or at least something to compete with the current meta here in Modern Warfare, which I think in Warzone specifically would be a big thing. Now, as I said, the other weapons we can make out of that is the M27 IAR. That's also going to fire the 5.56x45 NATO rounds. The barrel length for that would be around 16.5 inches, and again, the magazine capacity, we could take a standard 40-round mag of the 5.56x45 or even a 100-round C-mag for that as well. Now, that weapon was in Call of Duty Ghosts. It's been in other previous Call of Duty variants or games as well. The HK416 has actually been in Black Ops 2, I believe, as a futuristic version of the weapon as well. And again, we have different variants of the G28 there, being the 417 Assault that you can make, also based on full automatic capabilities, things like that. Now, the G28 has been in COD Ghost as well. So in Call of Duty Ghost, we had at least 2 or 3 of these. I don't think the 416 was in Call of Duty Ghost, but the HKG28 was in Call of Duty Ghosts, as well as the M27 IAR. So we've seen a lot of these weapons. Infinity Ward definitely has the assets already created, just a matter of updating them to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which I'm sure they've already done at this point. It's a matter of whether or not they're going to release it. So out of the G28, we can make at least 3 different weapons, being we have the G28, we can make the HK416, the M27 IAR, and maybe a different variant of the 417, depending on what the attachments are. But regardless, given the barrel lengths, we can make more variants of that, being a 416C compact or carbine and a DA5, which again would compete with that long-range assault meta that we see in the 5.56x45. So that covers the G28. That's a weapon that I'm pretty sure is going to be coming to the game here in Season 7, or at least sometime down the road here after Season 6 ends, when we see continued support. Next up is going to be the AK-12, or at least some variant of a modernized Kalashnikov assault rifle. So we've seen the here in game, and I've covered this extensively, so I'm not going to go too into it right now, but we've seen the AK in game is an original 1950 model AK-47, not even an AKM. So there's a lot of differences. They decided to go with a Gen 1 AK Kalashnikov rifle here instead of, I believe we're in Gen 4 at this point. We had the original AKs, we had the AKMs, we had the AK-74s, we had the AK-100 series, and now we have the AK-400 series. That is the AK-12, 15, and 19 in the RPK-16. So we have much more modernized AKs than what we have in game here. So an AK-12 would be a fitting weapon. Again, now this is another rifle that has been in previous Infinity Ward titles. We saw it in Advanced Warfare. We also saw it in Call of Duty Ghosts. The AK-12 prototype variant was there. Now we're at a point in time here in 2020 where the Kalashnikov group has already released an upgrade kit for the AK-12. It's officially been adopted by the Russian military at this point, and they've already released an upgrade kit for it, similar to what they released the AK-19, which is the 5.56x45 NATO version of the weapon has. So the AK-12 would be beautiful. Now, if they can't do a whole AK-12 as a new weapon, some sort of attachments for the AK. I'd like to see attachments for an Alpha AK, giving us a lot of Zenico attachments, rail dust cover, Zenico handguards, things like that. Different barrel length to turn it into a shorter barrel rifle with 11.5-inch barrel to a 104 or a 105. If they can't do that, we also have the Resonant blueprint here in Season 6, which we saw released. So the Resonant blueprint, very close to the Veltor CMRD handguard for the AKMs and the AK-74 series of rifles. All they need to do is update that skin to reskin it and turn it into the Veltor CMRD. Give us a rail dust cover. Give us a more modernized handguard there with a more modernized AK-12 buttstock as well. We get a nice more modernized looking AK variant, besides having the dovetail mount and these older different looking AK builds that we have with the ribbed dust covers and things like that. So I'd like to see a rail dust cover, different handguards, buttstock updated as well to fit with a modernized AK or an AK-12. Things like that I think would be very suitable for an AK. So hopefully we get a full AK-12 upgrade kit. That'd be a great weapon to see introduced here in Season 7, since, again, it's already been in previous Call of Duty games, so it shouldn't be that hard for them to port over. And it's a little shocking that it's not in this game at this point already, especially because in single player they mistakenly named the AK with different attachments as an AK-12. So it seems to me they've always meant to add it, and they just haven't yet. So hopefully that thing's on the back burner, ready to go, and they just don't have it in the game files yet. Hopefully that's something we'll see coming here in Season 7. So moving on, one of the confirmed weapons, well, not officially confirmed, but leaked weapons, has been the Makarov pistol. We've seen this in previous Call of Duty games before. If you get into custom lobbies, some people have been able to pick up this gun as well. It seems like the conversions should allow us to have our first fully automatic pistol. So the Makarov pistol, again, it's been in Call of Duty in the past. However, with the conversions, we should be able to make it into a fully automatic pistol. and some different conversions as well. So that's one thing that I think is definitely coming. Hasn't been confirmed, but again, it has been leaked, and we've seen that information. Another weapon that I'd like to see, and this is also going to tie in with some different Cold War stuff, I'd really like to see the U.S. Ordnance M60E6. So this is the latest version of the M60. Makes vast improvements over the E3, E4, and E5. It's honestly almost a completely different gun when it comes to how it operates. Now this is a slower rate of fire 7.62 by 51mm machine gun. So when we look at the thin LMG, which is after the Knights Armament Company the Knights Armament Company Stoner, essentially the modernized Stoner version. The M60 fires a larger caliber, so it's 5.56 versus 7.62 NATO. The M60 will fire at 600 rounds per minute. It's a larger caliber, easy to control with that slower rate of fire, and again, that should hit hard because it's a larger caliber weapon, and it's going to be you're going to be able to control the fire and keep it accurate because it's 600 rounds per minute. So that U.S. Ordnance M60E6, beautiful weapon, very modernized looking. Since the M60 again has been in previous Call of Duty games and it is going to be in Black Ops Cold War, it only makes sense that they add it to this game. Now we'll come back to that here in a little bit, but another thing I like to see for Season 7 is more Milsim operators. We didn't really get any official Milsim operator skins here in Season 6, so I'd really like to see more Milsim. I'd like to see more Spetsnaz. We have really good Spetsnaz skins for Bale. However, I'd like to see more Spetsnaz skins for Minotaur and some of the other Spetsnaz operators that we have here in game to really bring them in line with the actual Milsim, similar to the Bale Protectorate skin that we have already. I'd like to see Navy SEAL Milsim skins added for the Coalition. I'd like to see maybe SFOD or Delta, German KSK, Special Forces, or French GIGN. I think would also be really nice to see in this game as well. And those will give you both Coalition and Allegiance Milsim operators on the default operators, or even for existing operators, given just Milsim skins in the Battle Pass, or for bundles. That would be really nice to see. As well as, speaking of Milsim, we do have the FSB bundle, which is supposed to be coming. Again, this has been delayed since Season 4. It's supposed to be coming here in Season 6, according to Call Tracker, but since we've yet to see it, the only thing I can surmise is that they're up there doing some sort of updates to the AK, or they're just holding off on it for whatever reason. Maybe that's going to come with a AK-12. Maybe they're holding it off because they know they're going to release a new AK. They know they're going to release a different blueprint, and they're holding that. We already saw the Riot Shield released separately as a challenge, so it seems like they're holding that blueprint back for whatever reason. Hopefully we find out at some point soon. Now, when we look at different weapon attachments and conversions, we can look at things like this. The game was built off the Gunsmith, so we have different attachments that we could add. Let's see, for the SCAR, we can make the Mark 16 with the 5.56x45 NATO conversions. Again, that would give you another 5.56 rifle, though, and since that weapon itself was canceled, it seems unlikely that we would see that. However, it would be nice to see a faster firing SCAR with maybe a 40, 45 round, or a 50 round magazine of the 5.56x45 NATO. Another one would be a fully automatic conversion for the FAL. In real life, the FAL is fully auto. It would be really nice to see that. However, the penalty for that and how you balance would be that the FAL, if you're going full auto with that perk, it would have to be very hard to control the recoil. However, in close range situations, it should dominate because it's 7.62x51. And again, the FAL does a lot of damage. But however, I think you should be locked in full auto and not be able to select fire, because that's where that weapon really shines. So you need to limit it in some capacity. So I think if you want to run the FAL in full auto, it should be really good in close quarters. But beyond that, it should be very hard to control. The recoil should be high. You should have to sacrifice attachments and able to in order to control that recoil. That's how you balance that weapon. Another different attachment I'd like to see is for the AK-47. I'd like to see a casket magazine of the 5.45x39mm rounds. We see it on the AN-94. I'd like to see that come over to the AK-47, since the AK-47 only has a 30-round magazine capacity for the 5.45x45, or excuse me, 39. So it'd be nice to see either a 50 or a 60-round casket mag for that. 9mm conversion for the RAM would give us the Tavor X95. We've seen that in previous Call of Duties as well. We also have seen that it does have a 60-round drum mag in 2v2 gunfight mode that has shown up before, and we saw that a lot in the beta. Different weapons had different ammo conversions. I remember the Odin had a 100-round magazine, I believe, in the beta or the alpha in the 2v2 gunfight, and we just haven't seen a lot of those attachments. So whether or not those are going to come or not, yet to be determined. Now, when we get into some Cold War info, we do know that Cold War will be integrated here with Call of Duty Modern Warfare's Warzone. So, from what we heard so far, and we should hear more of this in the coming days to weeks before the release. So, I know Cold War is going to be released next week, so we should hear about it this week, how the integration is going to be. And what we know so far is that if you level up rank 1 through 55, unlock all the weapons. Once the integration actually launches in December with Season 1 of Cold War, you will be able to use your Cold War weapons in Warzone. So Warzone will run on the Modern Warfare engine, same Warzone we know and love today. However, you'll be able to utilize your weapons from Cold War in Warzone. So how that's going to work, not quite sure. And that's where it comes down to, is Treyarch going to implement those weapons on the Modern Warfare engine, or is Infinity Ward going to do that work? And are they going to be the original Cold War weapons, or are they going to be more modernized weapons? So if we look at things like the AS Val, the SKS, I think these are prime examples. We've seen these weapons added to Modern Warfare in their original older weapon format, and they've had more modernized attachments. So if you look at things like the AK-5, that's a Swedish assault rifle that's going to be in Cold War. Now that could be added, seems like it's going to be added to Warzone or Modern Warfare, and then it'll have modernized attachments to turn it on into an AK-5C, which is the more modernized version of that weapon. The Chinese assault rifle, the QBZ-95, same thing there. M60, so when we look at that, the M60 is going to be in Cold War. So will that come, and will there be conversions to turn it into a U.S. Ordnance E6 like we discussed I wanted in the wish list here? So also we have the RPD, the Stoner. There's also different weapon attachments. That the AK-47 in Cold War has different barrel lengths, such as a 16.5 and a 15.5 inch barrel length. So are we going to get those type of different attachments added to the weapons? And maybe that's something that Infinity Ward has been working on, is importing those assets and redesigning them to fit in the Modern Warfare engine and in Warzone and balance those. So that's something to keep in mind, is where those attachments make sense, will we be seeing those? That would be, the AK-47 could have new attachments, all those different barrel lengths, like the 16.5 or a 15.5 inch. They wouldn't need to re-add the weapon because it's already there. And then some of the weapons we don't have in Modern Warfare, like the AK-5C, the M60, things like that, will be added. And will they be added with more modernized variants, or are we going to be running around with 1980s weapons in the Cold War era? It seems like they'll add the original weapons, and then we'll have attachments to modernize them, or blueprints to modernize them, so they fit more in the modern day setting. So that's something to keep in mind. I really think that's kind of where this is going. Again, we should hear about this hopefully this week as to how that integration is going to work this week or next, prior or right after launch. But that's my wish list for Season 7. So just to recap, looks like the Season 7 weapon, one of them should be the G28. We should be able to convert that to a HK416C or a DA5. And if we get the DA5, you get a 20-inch barrel on that weapon. Different handguard, fully automatic capability with the 5.56x45 ammo conversion. Hopefully in a 30 or a 40 or even a 60 round casket mag. And then in that case, you could compete with these other high rate of fire 5.56 weapons like the Kilo, the Grau, the Bruin, some of those other ones that everyone's using, the M4 specifically. This would just add another player to the game to help compete with that meta. And I think that's something the game desperately needs right now. We can also get the M27 IAR, the HK417 Assaulter, or some other different variant of that out of the G28. And again, all these weapons have been in previous Infinity Ward titles, so it shouldn't be hard for them to add these. And it seems like the G28 is already there and ready to go, so it's just a matter of what the conversions are going to be. Another one would be the AK-12, or at least some sort of Alpha AK or VL-Tor CMRD handguard for the current AK. Like we saw with the Resonant blueprint, it seems to be that's basically the same handguard, just skinned differently. So all they have to do is reskin it, put on some modernized attachments. Again, if we look back at Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered COD 4, there was tactical gunfighter weapon skins for that game, which gave you a Picatinny dust cover and different handguards to the AK to bring it up to modern specs, right? So hopefully that's something we see here coming in the future. U.S. Ordnance M60E6 would be another one. And since the M60 is going to be added to Cold War, how will that integrate? Maybe we'll get the attachments to make that weapon. I'd like to see Milsim operators from different countries, Spetsnaz SEALs, Delta, KSK, GIGN, different weapon attachments, and then again, more modernized attachments for the weapons that come in from Cold War and that are integrated into the engine. Whether Treyarch is going to be integrating those, or whether Infinity Ward's already been at work importing those and creating them for the Modern Warfare engine, the assets, and the right attachments to bring them up to modernized weapons so they fit in with the modernized genre. So let me know down below. There's a little bit of a longer video today. Hopefully you guys stuck in there and enjoyed it. A lot of information to cover. Again, a lot of this can come Season 7 and beyond here as we get into the end of the year. There's a lot, I think, of exciting things to come here for Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone. Even with the Black Ops Cold War launch, we should see a lot of different things here coming. I'm really excited for Season 7 or whatever the continued support's going to be. There's definitely going to be more content coming, so it's just whether or not they title it Season 7 or not. So let me know down below, what are your wish lists for Season 7? What do you guys think of Call of Duty Modern Warfare right now and Warzone in the current meta. I think, like I said, an HK 416D A5 would just be a complete meta shift, or at least competitor to the Kilo and some of these other high rate of fire 5.56 weapons. They could also buff some of the larger caliber weapons like the 7.62s to make them do more damage, since they do have heavy recoil, so there needs to be some sort of balance there to make them viable to use against these 5.56 rifle variants. Outside of that, if you guys like the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be covering a lot more of this, do a lot more conversions here as we get into Season 7. There's still some more conversions that I haven't even covered yet, so I'll be covering a lot of those, some different blueprints, and hopefully when Season 7 launches, we'll be covering a lot of these weapons, as well as with Cold War launch, I will be doing coverage there as well. So like, subscribe, all my links to social media and Discord are down below. This is my Season 7 wish list. Till next time, Buffer and Gaming, out.